Welcome to the eCommerce podcast with Matt Edmundson, a show that brings you regular interviews, tips, and tools for building your business online.
Well, hello and welcome to the eCommerce podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmundson, a show all about how to grow your own online business. Yes, every week I get to talk to amazing people, literally from all over the world about e-commerce. And I just get to ask them all kinds of crazy questions about what they know and pick their brains and how it's going to help us develop online. And today is no exception. Let me tell you, I am excited about today's guest because we had a great pre-call chat. So I know it's going to be great stuff. We've got a very special guest, digital marketing and Etsy expert. And let me tell you, that's not easy to say. Nancy Badillo. Now, Nancy works with Etsy sellers who want to build a thriving Etsy business and embrace the entrepreneurial adventure. And today, Nancy is going to be with us. Yes, and she's going to tell us what we need to know on how to build our own Etsy business, how to differentiate it, and how, and this I am super excited about, how to use Pinterest marketing to promote an Etsy store. Oh yes. All of the notes from today's show will be available as a free download on our website. So just head on over to mattedmundson.com and you can download them. Now that's all coming up. So let me just play this little sponsor video and I'll be right back. Let me take just a few seconds here to tell you about my brand new e-commerce course that is perfectly designed for those of you who are looking to build your own online business, right? I know it's going to work well for you guys because we deep dive into the process that I use to build my own e-commerce businesses. We're going to look at the 6 key elements that you need to be aware of for building a successful online store. I'm utterly convinced it'll make a huge difference to your business. I am super proud of it, let me tell you, and it is brand new for 2020. It's called the eCommerce Masterclass. You can check out what other people think about the course. You can find out more information on my site at mattedmundson.com. Oh, yes, do check that out. Now, if you're watching the show on Facebook Live or even on Catch Up or on YouTube, all the million places that we put this podcast, don't forget to like the video, ask your questions and give us your ideas in the comments. And if you can, why not share it out? Now, without further ado, should we bring on today's guest? I think we should. So I am just going to click this button on my pad here. Nancy, welcome to the show. It's great that you're here. Thanks for taking the time to join us all the way from, just from across the pond, really, aren't you?
Yes, I'm in Chicago. Thank you so much for having me, Matt. I'm so excited to be here. Hi, everyone. And thanks again.
Yeah, no problem. I'm more excited. I think it's great. So how's COVID doing in Chicago?
You know what? We were doing really well over the summer, and it's kind of like increasing again in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, with the cold weather, people will stay in, and then we should see another decrease. Yeah. For the most part, I stay at home. My husband has a tumor in his head, so. For us, we can't be, he has a compromised immune system. So for the most part, we do stay at home, and my son does go to daycare. So that's a little scary right now. But so far, so good in my household. But I know that for us over here in Chicago, it is increasing a little bit.
Oh, wow. Well, that sounds insane. I mean, COVID is crazy all over the world, but, thoughts and prayers with you guys for dealing with that under COVID. That's some, and is that why you run your home-based business? Is that why you do all this from home because of your husband?
No, actually, I've been doing digital marketing for 11 years.
Okay.
And I was working for 11 years as well, a full-time job. And then when COVID hit on March 24th, I got let go of my job. My job let me go. I was working from home. They did let me work from home because of my husband having brain surgery last year, doing chemo and radiation. So I've been working from home and still doing my side hustle. But when they let me go, honestly, I had to switch my mind and say, okay, I really got to, even though I was taking it serious already, I had almost said to myself, I have no safety net anymore. And I have to literally change what I'm doing because it's not working. I'm not making enough to make a living every day, right? To pay my bills and help my husband because he wasn't working. So when I did that mind shift, and not to kind of jump the gun, but to jump the show.
Jump the gun, yeah, go.
But in the first 30 days, I went from barely making money every month, like up and down. It wasn't steady to making $26,000 in 30 days. Just switching my mindset is just incredible. But I've been working from home for 11 years. This is actually my first time since March to now that I have been able to work my regular job, my hustle, full time.
Wow.
Than ever before, yeah.
So now your side hustle, I love that phrase, the side hustle. There are so many people with online businesses actually who are going to be listening to you who have got a side hustle. And they're going to be listening to that and going, well, goodness me, you did that for a while. And then, through a series of, not helpful events, let's just call them that, right? You kind of turn this side hustle into a full-time business, and within the first 30 days made 26 grand. I mean, you've got to be stoked with that, right? You must have looked at that and felt like you were dreaming.
It did. And to be quite honest, a lot of times we kind of like self-sabotage ourselves because I made that much money. And that's a lot of money. That's like half of what I made in my regular job for yearly. And I still was doubting myself. It's crazy. Like exactly a month in, April 24th, my job called me back. And they're like, we want to hire you again. Because they got like that small business loan. And I honestly had more anxiety that day than when they let me go. I was okay, should I go back? Should I just continue this full time? And I honestly had to think about it the full day because they needed an answer right away because they're trying to rehire their staff again. And if I say no, they're going to give it to someone else. And I remember saying to myself, okay, if this was my son, Jordan, and he just made $20,000, $26,000, even $15,000. And he told me, Mom, should I go back to my regular job? Even though I loved my job, but it was digital marketing as well. But would I tell him that? No, I would tell him, no, you're crazy. You just had the best month of your life. Why would you go back?
Absolutely.
And recycle. And that's literally the same advice I had to give myself because you self-sabotage yourself. You really do. And then I was like, you know what? I'm not coming back. And it has been the best decision I already made over 6 figures. It's just your mindset, really.
Oh, congratulations. So
Thank you.
I mean, we're going to get into your story a little bit more, and I'm going to pick your brains about the secrets and the stuff that you've learned. But right off the bat, that is an awesome story, and I'm really pleased because I love hearing those kind of stories, where something bad happens and you turn it around and your life is changed for the better as a result. And that's a lot of stories. But I just want to pick your brains a little bit about the side hustle idea. Why did you decide to do a side hustle? What started you on that particular road?
You know what? I always been one of those people that I take a lot of risks. Like, I don't think about the consequences. I just do as I go, which is a good thing and it's a bad thing in life because you can make the wrong decisions that cost you years of issues. So in 2007, when the recession came in, especially in the U.S., in 2000, I had bought a house. So in 2009, the job that I was working at, they went bankrupt. And I was working at a job. I was going to school full time. I wanted to be a dermatologist. And I was paying my house, having a full-time job and full-time school. That's a lot for like a 23-year-old.
Yeah.
And because I've been on my own since I was 14, that's all I know. And it's like, take care of myself. And I've never really had the advice of someone tell me, why don't you just focus on school? When you're done with that, then you can afford a house, then you can afford everything else that you want. I was doing everything at once. So when the recession hit, I lost my home. I had to stop school because I couldn't afford. I was paying school out of my pocket. I was going to DePaul University, which is a very expensive school. So I had to pretty much stop everything from there. And when I lost my home, when I had to stop school, I had to get 3 jobs to kind of even pay rent or even try to save the house. After that, I started searching online about making money because I knew that was kind of like when it had I think a lot of people didn't know about making money online, but was kind of like starting to buzz.
Yeah.
I just didn't know anyone. I didn't know about Gary Vee. I didn't know about any coaches. I was really fairly new to it. So I just decided, let me look it up and see. And I swear, I just started looking it up. I started learning about blogging, and then I started learning about affiliate marketing. The first time I made money was like a penny through Google AdSense. And I got so excited because I was like, oh my God, I just made a penny. Like, how can I make more? And then I started meeting people, spending time on summits, and I started learning. But with me, I'm a slow learner. It takes me longer to learn things, especially because I have 3 jobs trying to support myself, trying to do this on the side. I'm sacrificing every weekend. You know, if I come home at 5, guess what? From 6 to 1 in the morning, I'm learning and learning, fail, try this, I fail, try that, I fail. Affiliate marketing, I fail. I did this, my account got suspended. I did this, I try to grow this account, it got suspended too because I'm like spamming. It's just all these mistakes, right? And now I view them as win or learn. You either learn or you win. Back then, I used to view them as fail, but I kept going. And
wow, that's fantastic. I mean, you're a woman after my own heart here, Nancy. I've got to say, I just love the fact you kept going. You just kept doing it and kept trying. Mm-hmm. That's brilliant. And I wish a lot of more people had that spirit that, let's just... Yeah. In England, we call it the bulldog spirit, the British bulldog. Do you know what I mean? We just want to keep going and keep going. Mm-hmm. And I just wish more people had it. So that's what you did. And that's why you set the site. I mean, you're losing your house, right? I mean, that's quite a big reason. And I can attest to the fact that a lot of people now watching or listening to the show will be like, they're in a similar situation in the current crisis that we're in. Mm-hmm. And they're thinking, I'm thinking of setting up a side hustle. Would you tell them to go for it?
Yeah, especially if you know that you're good at something. I think the best advice I would give them is find something that you're really good at and then become the industry leader in that particular area. I think the biggest mistake I made, which is not a mistake now because I'm using all of those things I learned to my career now, but the biggest mistake I made, I was all over the place and I didn't really put myself out there as an expert niche in anything. Mm-hmm. On top of that, I'm an introvert. So for many years, I was behind the scenes. I was never in front of a camera. I never did YouTube. Now I have a YouTube channel with 40,000 subscribers, but I never did stuff like that because I was too scared to do it. So if you find something you really love, it will work. You just got to put in the work, but eventually it will grow into something.
And so the YouTube channel, you said you've got a YouTube channel for 40,000 subscribers. Now, is that 40,000 since you started full time on your business, or is that something you've slowly built over the last few years?
Slowly built the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So like I mentioned before, I was all over the place. And I know later we're going to talk a little bit more about Etsy and how I got started. But when I got started with Etsy, I noticed that there weren't too many people doing Etsy, like coaching, like helping people grow their business. Because I was searching for that and I couldn't find anyone. Mm-hmm. So I changed my niche and became an Etsy coach and used all the skills I have learned from my past to help build online businesses online, basically. And when I did that, it's really funny. I want to share this with people because a lot of people out there tell me this, like they want to start a YouTube channel, but they're scared because they don't want to put their face in camera. If you go back to my YouTube channel, I have over almost 600 videos right now. But if you go back to like a year and a half ago, every single video is like a screenshot of my computer. I just gave a lot of value, but I never recorded myself. I didn't put my thumbnails on my YouTube channel. It was like other people's pictures. That's how I started. I was like baby steps. I'm like, okay, I'll do a video. I'll record the screen. As long as I'm providing lots of value, people will come back. And I just started providing value through videos and critiques, like free critiques of people's store. And then from there, I got the momentum and you build confidence. And I got the momentum. And now this year, I was like, okay, that's it. I want people to know who I am because if people know who you are, they buy from you, they like you, they trust you. So I started doing introductions of my face and doing videos and putting my picture in my thumbnail. And that actually did the change. I remember a couple of days ago, I was looking at a post last year in September, I was at 10,000 followers. And then this year in September, I had reached like 38. I'm like, wow, I grew that much. So that does make a big difference when you put yourself out there.
Yeah. No, and that's great advice. I like that. Just start with baby steps, and you never know what's going to happen, right?
Exactly.
And I really like that. Now, you brought up Etsy, and I want to get into Etsy because I've not had anyone on the show talk about Etsy before, and we should definitely talk about Etsy because it is a big deal. And for those 4 people on the planet that are listening to the show that doesn't know what Etsy is, just give us a brief explanation of what Etsy is.
Of course. So Etsy is like e-commerce platform where you could go and buy handmade items. So everything you buy there is personalized or customized by the seller. So there's no reselling allowed on Etsy. So it's not like Amazon that you could go buy something at a store and then resell it on Amazon. It doesn't work that way. And what's really nice is that everything is, like I mentioned, is personalized. So you could pretty much get anything personalized for your wedding, for your party, for your event. Pretty much anything you could think of, they sell on Etsy. And they also sell vintage. So if you have anything that's 20 years and older, then you could sell as well. And then supplies, but majority of sellers, they sell handmade items.
Yeah. And so and it's great. And I've bought stuff off Etsy in the past, which is very personalized stuff. You get your name put on a journal or something like that. And so that's the platform. So how did you get started on Etsy then? And why did you choose Etsy?
You know what? It just goes back to what I was saying earlier. I just jump into things.
This is going to be the answer for a lot, isn't it? I just had to go. Yeah. No, I love it.
So everything. So 2014, I got engaged to my husband. And one of my friends were like, oh, you should go to Etsy and buy, wedding stuff. I'm like, what is this store? Like, I never heard of Etsy. So I went to Etsy. And keep in mind, I'm a digital marketer, so I'm already thinking like my brain goes in circles when I go to a new site and think about ideas of what I could do to make money. So I go in there, I'm like, look at all these beautiful things. And then I'm like, okay, I'm not an artist. Okay. So then I keep scrolling. I buy a couple items. I buy like a wedding invite, a sitting chart, a couple things. But what really piqued my curiosity is that when I buy these items, I bought it from the person. I paid like $65. I got like 5 files. I buy it. I'm the one that's going to edit the file. Mm-hmm. I'm the one that's going to take it to Kinko's, whatever printing service is in your city or country. I'm going to go print it out. This person really they did work. I'm not saying it's no work. But is they're not doing the additional work. I'm doing everything myself as a bride. And I'm thinking to myself, that like gave me an aha moment, Okay. And then from there, I started researching the stores and I started instead of shopping for my wedding, I'm researching. And I started noticing all these stores that are making like 6 figures. No problem. 6 figures selling digital downloads or digital prints. And I'm like, I could do that. Like I never shipped anything, so I didn't want to get into the shipping. But I like the fact that somebody could buy a file from you and you don't do anything else.
Yeah.
I was like, that's brilliant, like a digital product. So I created my first store after I got married. I was like, okay, once the wedding is done, I created my store like 2016, late 2016. It was like October. I created my first store. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm not a graphic designer. So what I ended up doing is I went to Word document, typed in a quote, saved it as a JPEG, and uploaded it to Etsy. And I was selling prints for like $5.
No way.
Art principles, I swear to God.
Wow.
The only issue with that was I was using a lot of copyright stuff because I saw everyone else do it on Etsy. And I just thought it was like legit, like you could do it. Like you could grab This Girl's on Fire by Alicia Keys, like a part of a lyric and put it as a quote.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Okay. I was doing that and I was making money. I think my first month I made over $102. And then the month after that, I was making like $300. And the reason why I was getting hit with copyright and infringements is because I know how to market myself. So I was all over the internet marketing it correctly. And that's why I was getting hit with, hey, this is intellectual property. So to kind of like wrap it up, from there, I was like, okay, I have 1,000 listings that I created, right? I had
1,000 listings.
1,000. It's really easy when you're just copying quotes and saving them. You could do like 20 per day. I kid you not. If you're an overachiever like me, you could do a lot.
Oh, wow.
So
wow.
I remember starting all over again. And I was like, okay, let me get rid of these quotes because my store is going to get shut down. So then I started selling wedding and party events. And then from there, I started learning how to create those type of items, even though I'm not an artist, even though I'm not tech savvy. And that's kind of how it started. And from there, the first year I made over 21,000 with a full-time job while I wasn't pregnant yet. My second store was when I was pregnant, but through the whole process of that. But that's kind of how I got started.
Oh, wow. Wow. So that it was as simple as that. I mean, so I love this because so often people complicate it in their heads, right? It's got to be of a certain thing. But you are literally just creating a document in Word, a quote in Word, using a nice font, I assume. So, it's formatted nicely. You're saving that, as a PDF? And then you're uploading that to Etsy.
A PDF, yep. Mm-hmm.
And people are buying it.
And people were buying it, exactly.
Wow. Wow.
Because, I didn't know about any other tools. I never created anything handmade. So for me, that was like, oh, okay, I could do it here. But then now, obviously, there's a lot of tools and other things. But yeah, it was just that simple to kind of get started.
So if, I guess if someone's listening to this and they're thinking, I want to start a side hustle, that sounds remarkably simple. Is it still that simple, or has it got a little bit more complex in the last 4 years?
It is simple to create the products. I think what's more complex is getting the traffic and growing your brand. That's what's more complex, because creating a store, especially if you've never done it before, with the tools that are available right now, like let's say Canva.com is one of the tools that I recommend in my course.
Sure.
It's just amazing. You could just go in there and create printables. You don't need Word document. I just started with that because I have no idea of anything else. But but there's so many simple tools. You could buy licensed graphic design that you could buy and add to your pieces. So you don't need to be an artist. That's one of the biggest misconceptions. People think I need to be an artist. Yeah. I need to be tech savvy, so this won't work. It will work, and it's that simple. I think, like you mentioned, the complex part of it is the marketing aspect of it.
Yeah. And so, okay, so there's two sides, I suppose, to this. There's the development of the products, which is still straightforward. The marketing, as with all things digital marketing, has moved on, and we've just got to rethink some of our thinking. And we're going to get into Pinterest marketing specifically in just a few minutes. But I've got a few questions about Etsy before we get there. So if you're listening, do stay connected, because we're going to get into the Pinterest thing. I'm super excited by it. So who should have an Etsy store? I mean, that I appreciate that's quite a broad question, but how would you answer that?
I think it just depends on what you want to achieve. If you want to create a store where you make like a side hustle, meaning, a hustle for me is like, I want to grow a brand. That's what my side hustle always was. But if you want to do something on the side that you're just making extra income every month, just an extra $400, $500, $600 a month, then you could create like a digital store, because it doesn't require so much work from your end, in the sense of creating the product all the time. You don't have to ship anything to the customer. It's very relatively cheap to get started. So if you look at it in that perspective, you could do that. If you want to build a brand, as you know, Matt, in order to build a brand, build a company under your name, people start recognizing you, that does take a lot of work. That means that you could open a store, but then you will need to brand yourself. Yeah. And then I think, again, to kind of answer your question as well, this is good for anyone, whether you're trying to make a side hustle and just make a few $100s a month, or you actually have talent and you create, jewelry, or you create candles, or you have something really special that you want to get started. Etsy is a great platform because it's really easy to get started. It's really easy to maneuver and build your store within one day. And on top of that, they give you built-in traffic when you first start. So even if you don't have branding and all these other things, you could kind of work on that while you're still getting traffic from Etsy. So Etsy is pretty good for anyone out there that either wants to do a part-time, like a side hustle, or they want to do something for real. It just depends on where you're at.
Okay, so basically anyone is what we're saying. Yeah. So I'm going to give you two scenarios. Can we run a few scenarios here? Yeah. So scenario number one, right? My son is now just recently started university. Okay, my eldest at university is causing me a few issues because in my head I'm still at uni, right? So I don't feel like I'm old enough to have a child who's attending university. I just don't. But that's a personal thing. I've got to get over that. Now, he obviously needs to finance his way through uni, right? So he's got to make some money. And typically a student in the UK would look to do something like a coffee shop job, you know, be a barista, work in a restaurant or something like that. It's a kind of the standard thing. And I'm like saying to Josh, why don't you set up an online business, right? Because Dad knows e-commerce, and let's think about that. I'm thinking now, should he think about actually setting up an Etsy store? And what sort of things could he look at doing?
I think it comes down to what you are good at. But I will say this, you don't have to be good at something naturally to sell. So for instance, when I started selling the wedding invites, I was never in the wedding industry. I was never, I started doing it, and you get better at it, and then you start being more creative. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be really good at something to create something. You could find passion in something you never thought you would, like me. Like I found passion on Etsy. I never thought I would find passion on Etsy. It just happened. So if he doesn't have anything concrete, like let's say he draws right now, he knows how to draw, then he could do portraits on Etsy and sell those, right? Because that's handmade. They're giving you a picture, you're drawing it. That's considered handmade. It could be a digital product. They just buy it. You send them to them through like a JPEG or PDF, and then they just print it themselves. So it could be something that's simple, taking something that he's good at. Or it could be something like a lot of young kids do T-shirts. I know my niece does it. She has a T-shirt shirt on Etsy. And she was not like an expert, on T-shirts, but she's taken my course and she's got inspired, and now she knows how to do print on demand, and she's doing all these things. And she actually is going to school for hair, and that pays her bills. I mean, it works. And who
Fantastic.
knows? That might give her skills in the future, right? To run her own hair shop. And you learn so many things just from running your own business. So it could just be something like that, like something you never thought you would do. She never thought she would do T-shirts, but now she does all these like Boss Babe T-shirts and cute girl stuff, empowerment, and she's doing really good.
Oh, well done. That's fantastic. That's just more good stories. I love it. So let's take something a little bit more tangential. Let's use me as an example, right? Now, like you, I have a course, right? I have an online course on how to set up and run an e-commerce business, which is great, especially at the moment. A lot of people using it for obvious reasons with COVID. Now, when I come to think about how I'm going to market this course, what I don't do is I have to be honest, it never enters into my head, Etsy could be an interesting platform to do something on that builds at least an awareness, because you're not going to sell the course necessarily, but you could do something which builds an awareness. Well, should that be something that I think about or not? Or is that just way too tangential?
I think if you are just starting out and you need to build brand awareness, why not? It's just another place. It's relatively very cheap to start Etsy. It's not going to cost you a lot of money. And what you could essentially do is that, like you said, you're not going to sell your course there because it's not something that meets the criteria of Etsy. But what you could sell is PDF files where you teach people 10 tips, or like PDF file where you teach people how to start e-commerce, and you have like a checklist of things. You could sell stuff like that. You could sell
Okay.
You could sell checklists. You could create like an e-commerce spreadsheet of how to keep your finances together. There's people in there making $100,000 a year selling financial sheets for e-commerce stores, basically. And they have sheets that they sell of all types of things, like inventory, how to keep track of inventory. That's a sheet that they sell for like $5 a download. And that, because on Etsy, you could put your About Me story on the bottom, that brings brand awareness. And on top of that, you could collect emails as well. So when you connect your email in there as well, these are people that you could remarket to at a later time with your course, because you know that they're targeted people. So anywhere that you could collect emails, that you could bring more brand awareness, and is relatively very cheap to start. It's only 20 cents per listing, and you only get charged when you sell one, or every 4 months you get charged another 20 cents. Why not?
Goodness me. Okay. So let me give you another scenario then, because I'm just intrigued how your brain works and how you're adapting this platform to help grow your business. So we have here in the UK a beauty website. So we sell skincare products on that beauty website. So that's not a personalized product per se. So what ideas would you have that I could exploit's the wrong word, but do you know what I mean? That I could use to build, say, the beauty business on Etsy?
I think because you're in the skincare, you could probably either sell skincare items, like stuff that you could do to take care of yourself. If you want to create tangible stuff. But if you don't want to create tangible, you just want to create something very minimal just to kind of drive traffic. What you could do is, because now with the COVID, this is really huge right now. I even have thought about it, and I got to tell myself, okay, Nancy, stay in your lane. You got too many ideas. I swear, I'm always thinking of different things. Is a lot of people are into, or it should be into, right? Self-care. So if you have a skin product like you do now, what you could do essentially is create sheets for personal development, how to take care of yourself, and kind of target those people that are looking for taking care of themselves, having a balanced life. And that could potentially be an ideal customer for you, because, if you're taking care of yourself, and you could create planners of things that you should do every day to take care of yourself. And it should be, one of them could be have a morning routine with your cream or something, right? And you could kind of later on market to them, again, your products. Because you're marketing to women more than anything that want to self-care themselves. So you could kind of create something out of that, like a self-care, whether it's printables, like planner sheets on how to, personal development, 3 things to do today to take your business to the next level, 3 things that you should do personal to take yourself to the next level, and stuff like that. And then you could put in your About Me story, we're all about self-care. We're all about you being the best version of yourself. And then you could link your website on there, and then that just drives traffic back to your outside products as well. Because you can link your website, your Instagram, anything else on Etsy as well. They do allow you. So you could kind of cross-promote.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, geez, there's so many good ideas there. We're going to go through them. And Nancy, after this call, you and I are going to have a conversation about how to take this forward. But I'm aware of time. So we're just going to take a brief moment here to thank our sponsor, and we will be right back. Let me give a big shout out to one of our show sponsors, Kurious Digital. You know what? I love its flexibility. It's such a great platform. You know how when you start out, you might typically use an online platform because they're cheap, they're easy to use, super accessible. But you know what? They aren't that flexible. And as your business grows, you end up moving to an agency, right? Because that's just what you do. And at some point, you're going to have this nightmare to deal with, and it can be incredibly expensive. And the thing for me that I love about KD is it will grow with you. You can start out on the platform easily, and as your business grows, then KD will adapt with you. Now, I don't know of any other platform that does all of that. So if you're in the market for a new e-commerce platform, make sure you follow the links from mattedmundson.com. Take advantage of the offers that they've got for you, and let me know what you think. Well, I'm here. I'm going to bring Nancy straight back on screen. Here we go. We're back with Nancy. We're going to carry on this conversation around Etsy and Pinterest. Now, the first part of this show, we got into your story, we got into the side hustle thing, and just the fact that you are a very inspiring person. Although, whilst the the sponsor video was playing, I think your niece needs to create a T-shirt which just says "Stay in your lane." Right?
Yes, I need one.
And just wear that. That'd be fun. So I thought that would be a good thing to do. Now, we have Oh, here we go. Warren's just put here, Nancy defo knows how to make cash from not shipping anything. Amazing ideas. So Warren's getting some good value out of this.
Awesome.
And I like how he uses the word defo rather than definitely. It's a very local, colloquial thing. Thank you, Warren. Absolutely, she does. And so, Nancy, can we pick your brains now? So we have got these, you've given us great of ideas for like my university son, my beauty business and my e-commerce courses. So a wide range of e-commerce businesses and how we can use Etsy. Now, you said at the start that actually it's fairly straightforward to do something on Etsy. It's still quite simple, but it's a bit more complex in marketing. Yeah. And so what I want to get into is Pinterest marketing specifically, because this is where we've not really had I know a lot of people who are great at Facebook ads. I know a lot of people who are specialists in Google ads. I know very few people who are good at Pinterest. It's still quite new. Okay. So can we get into this?
Yes, we can, of course.
Absolutely. That's the right answer. Otherwise, the show's very short.
So Pinterest, I absolutely is my top platform. I'll tell you something to kind of, not to brag, but to kind of just talk about 90% of my traffic comes from Pinterest. And Pinterest does what my Instagram does not do. And I'm almost at 70,000 on Instagram. What my Twitter doesn't do, and I'm at 100,000, 120,000 on Twitter. What my email list don't do, and etc. But just to kind of throw some numbers. And Pinterest, I think I have like 8,000 followers, not even. So Pinterest is amazing. I think the number one reason why is because it's a search engine. And a lot of other platforms, especially Instagram, I want to like scream sometimes. Instagram is a platform and Facebook is a platform where you have to pay to play. You have to spend money in order to get seen. They restrict your scene. If you don't get so many clicks, people don't find your stuff. It's just, it's all about engagement and the algorithm, and they control everything. Versus on Pinterest, because it's a search engine platform, almost like YouTube, you don't really have to pay. You could drive traffic organically. All of my traffic is driven organically. I have played around with ads, but to be quite honest, I stopped them because it's just a waste of money for me. I get so much free traffic. The only way that I will run an ad is maybe kind of like run it for my courses or high ticket stuff, which I'm going to be trying for January. But Pinterest, all you need to do is be in a niche. So make sure that when you create an account, you have optimized your whole account for that particular niche. Make sure that you're doing SEO on Pinterest. It's very simple. It's as simple as if you're typing in, let's say you're selling nursery prints on your Etsy store. To give you an example, you go to Pinterest on the search bar, you type in nursery prints, and you get a whole bunch of keywords that people are typing in, searching for that related keyword. And what you do is when you create a pin on Pinterest, you put a pin title, you put a keyword in there, you have your pin description, and then you will write a listing description of what you're selling, and you will put on all those keywords that you found, you will plug them in your description.
In the description.
And then you put your URL of where you want to send that traffic to. You send it, and that's it. And the great thing about Pinterest also is that when people, either if they search on Pinterest or they search on Google, your pictures appear on Google as well. So now you're driving traffic from Google and Pinterest. Instagram posts don't show up on Google. Facebook posts, they say some of them do, but I never seen none of them on my account show up. But Pinterest does. So when you start doing that and you start creating all of these pins and you set them up automated, I use a tool called Tailwind. And you set it up automated, you start driving traffic, and it's unlimited traffic, like over and over and over. It's just incredible.
Wow.
But that's kind of like the most important part is just the SEO and niching down, for sure.
So Pinterest, definitely try it. You're getting a lot of traffic from that. Yes. So if I go back to, let's just do a coaching session, right? So if I'm marketing, say, my e-commerce course, could I do that on Pinterest?
Yes, of course. Yes, you can. You could do so much with your e-commerce. You could send them to, let's say you do a live webinar, you could drive traffic there. If you have like an automated live webinar, you could drive traffic to your evergreen funnel. You could drive traffic to maybe other content that like a freebie. So you could grab their email and then promote them, right? That's another thing. With Pinterest, you see results right away. I want to make sure I say that because it's so important. Like with Pinterest, if you put in the work, within a week or two, you'll start seeing spikes. You're like, holy, like you'll start seeing it because it works that fast. You don't have to wait for months to get indexed or other things. Like it works fairly quickly if you're doing a fairly good job. But you could drive traffic. What I always recommend is always drive traffic to a landing page where you collect the email. Email is more important because you don't want to send them to your, let's say, to your course page and then they leave, they bounce, right? You want to grab their email because once you have their email, you could cross promote. This is what I do for my own business. You could cross promote. Hey, by the way, here's your freebie. And by the way, we are on Instagram. We are on YouTube. Here's this.
Oh, Nancy, are you there? Just bear me 1 second, guys. I'm just going to try and bring Nancy back. Are you there? Hello, Nancy. I think the connection's gone a bit funny. So what I'm just, stick with us, guys. I'm just going to hang up and I'm just going to call Nancy back. Hence, you can see the blue Skype thing on the screen. And so hopefully we've got Nancy straight back.
I'm here.
Here we go. Hey, Nancy. I don't know what happened there. The connection just went, you know what? No.
You know what? That happens and it's no problem at all.
There we go. And you're back. Woohoo!
Yes. So what I was saying essentially is that you could start driving unlimited traffic back to any product or service. But what I always recommend is have somewhere where you collect emails. Because with an email, once you have that email, you could do so much with it. Like I said, cross promote other channels, other products that you have, other platforms that you want to grow. That's how I grow my YouTube channel a lot. You could, send them emails about specials that you have. In addition to that, you could take it to another level once you have all those emails and create like lookalike audiences on Facebook, remarketing, etc. So the email is the most important thing, but you could drive traffic to pretty much anything.
So what you're saying is I should use Pinterest to drive traffic to like a landing page, which gives people free content, which they can download in exchange for their email address. And then I can cross-sell and upsell all the stuff that I do. Yeah. So what kind of stuff would I need to put on Pinterest to generate that initial traffic?
Well, the first thing is you need to have an account that is niched down. So if you're all about e-commerce, then when people look at your profile and they read your bio, it should give them the 3 W's: who you are, what you do, and why they should follow you. It should have your professional picture or your logo if you're behind the brand. All your pins should be consistent with what you sell. You shouldn't have a pin about a puppy if you're, you shouldn't be repinning puppy stuff or other pins that are irrelevant to your business. So you make sure that it's very niche. That's the important thing, because that will make you look like an expert, especially in the beginning if you're first starting out. And it will give you, it will separate you amongst other Pinterest users that are not using the platform correctly. So that's the way to set.
Which I imagine actually, because Pinterest is, I think it's in some respects a forgotten platform. So I imagine a lot of people aren't using it properly.
Oh, no, because a lot of people have the misconception that Pinterest is just to save pretty things. You go there.
To be honest with you, that's exactly what I would have said. My 13-year-old daughter, she loves like crochet and knitting and all that. I'm like, where did you get that idea? Oh, Pinterest.
Oh, yeah. And essentially it is. But for a business owner, oh, my God, you're missing out on so much opportunity. And, like when she repins stuff, now her audience see that pin. So keep that in mind. If you have one pin and 10 people repin it, and every 10 people have 1,000 people, now 10,000 people saw it. Yeah. Or reached 10,000 people. So that's essentially what's so great about Pinterest is all the resharing, it could go viral. But the first step, like we just talked about, niche down. The second step is you make sure that your pin is branded. It has your branding colors, it has your logo, or your URL. If you don't have a logo, that's fine. In addition to that, if you're selling something like a digital product, make sure that the picture of whatever they're getting is in the image. That makes it more tangible. Like they feel like they're actually going to get a free PDF in their hand, even though they're just downloading that free PDF that shows them how to start e-commerce store, right? Like 10 steps on how to start. And then when you create let's say you have one landing page and you don't have a lot of content, right? Like you don't have a lot of stuff. What you could do essentially is do 10 different pins, 10 different styles, 10 different titles, maybe put some with the actual offer on it. Maybe some don't have the offer. Some have call to actions like click to learn more, click to grab yours today, click to download now. Put those on the actual pin. Make some video pins. Video pins are performing better than regular pins. I was about to do a YouTube video today about it. I did 2 pins this week. One pin is just a regular static image. It says how to explode on Pinterest, something like that. The next pin is the same exact pin, the same title, the same keywords, the same description. All I did was I added confetti. It looks like little stars flying on top. That one got 3,000 views and like 6 shares in like 3 days. The other pin, I think, got 22 views. So right now, videos are in. Like, I don't know why, but video is like the number one thing you should be doing on Pinterest.
Okay.
I'm about to go crazy on videos on Pinterest now.
I'm going to follow you on Pinterest because seeing you go crazy would be quite fascinating. I'm not going to lie.
So video pins are in. So make sure that, test it out, obviously, so you could see it for yourself. Because I could tell you till I'm blue, but until you have the experience with Pinterest, then that's when you're going to be like, holy smoke, she was not lying. In January of last year, I was like really like full on, and I was almost at 10 million impressions per month. And I'm like, what did I do? Because I started my course and everything else. And my husband, with his help, I kind of like stopped using it as much, even though I'm autopilot. I pin every day regardless. But this year I'm going to go crazy. I highly recommend it. Another thing I recommend for anyone listening is 3 things. So branding, making sure your pins look great, making sure you do SEO. Another cool feature is a company called Tailwind. Tailwind app. And they help you automate your pins. Like you could bash out one day for 2 months. That's what I would recommend because that's going to save you more time. You'll have more time for your business and it's autopilot. So
that's Tailwind app.
A Tailwind app, exactly. And they're approved by Pinterest, so you don't have to worry about getting banned or anything. They are an approved company. Now, Tailwind has something really amazing. And I want to just be as transparent as possible. It's called Tribes. It's an upgrade to Tailwind. So just to let you know. But it is worth the upgrade.
Okay.
This is how amazing it is. And you should use it as well, Matt. You could go in there. You could find, it's like almost like Facebook groups like that. Yep. You could find other Pinterest groups that talk about e-commerce or talk about jewelry or talk about t-shirts, whatever your niche is. You join those groups. And what's cool about those groups versus the free groups on Pinterest, this is way different than the free groups on Pinterest. This is tribe groups that I'm talking about. I have a tribe group. When you join a tribe, they have rules. For every pin that you pin, you got to share someone else's pin. Mm-hmm. I have pinned stuff in there that has gotten, one of my pins, and I have to find it, has gotten over, I want to say 23 million shares.
Goodness me.
I'm using tribes. And that's when I was doing it all the time before. I was using tribes all the time. And that's why I reached 10 million impressions per month because my content was getting seen a lot. And that's the cool thing about tribes is that if I pin 20 great pins in the tribe, I share 20 other people's pins. And that's fine. You could share other people's content. Mm-hmm. It does help you as well grow your reach. And you put those in different boards. You won't put them in your products. But however, you share those pins. And once you have them in there, people will start resharing your pins. And the strategy that I use when I use tribes is on the left-hand side, you're going to see the top users and people that are constantly sharing stuff. And when you go to their website, you'll see all of them have 3 million views, 5 million views, 10 million views, because they use tribes on a consistent basis to drive traffic to podcasts, e-commerce, affiliate marketing, their blog, their email list, Etsy, Shopify, it doesn't matter. You could drive traffic to anything with tribes and Pinterest. So essentially what you do is you find those people that pin a lot and you start pinning their stuff in those groups. And then you build relationships with people. And if I pin 5 of your pins, you'll pin 5 of mine. Mm-hmm. Because they're very active. You don't want to pin somebody's pin that they pinned 10 months ago and they haven't showed up yet. Because most likely they won't return the favor. You find those people that return the favor And when you join a tribe, you're automatically, you have to share pins. If you don't, you get kicked out. So everybody's held accountable. It is amazing. It would amplify your reach so much because, like I said earlier, if you have, like that person, if they reshare your pin and they got 50,000 subscribers, that's 50,000 people that saw your pin from one reshare.
Yeah.
And if more people do that, then in one day you could have over 1 million views on one pin because of that. That's another trick that no one really knows about, or they see it, but they're like, oh, I don't want to upgrade. I don't want to spend more money. It probably doesn't work. It does work.
Okay.
It does work.
I'm sold. So I'm going to go talk to our marketing team tomorrow, and I'm like, right, let's have a conversation. Nancy, listen, I genuinely could talk to you about this all night, and I'm aware of time, and time is upon us. But how do you? I guess my final question, bringing it back to Etsy, is there a special way to link Etsy and Pinterest, or is it the same as you would link Pinterest, link into your podcast or to your course or anything like that, or is there some kind of special source with Etsy?
No, it's easier, but at the same time, it has its downfalls. So, for instance, if you have an Etsy store, you don't need to really. You could go to Pinterest and claim your store. Like just put in your URL if they let you. Yeah. So you're not essentially claiming the store because you can't put the metadata on Etsy. They don't allow you to. So, but there's not that much you have to do. Once you share your pin from your store to Pinterest, it automatically pulls the information from your listing description. So there's not essentially anything else you have to do. But I will say this, like for you, Matt, that you have like your own website, or anyone out there listening that have their own website. If you want your website, traffic to explode, there's a plug called Grow by Mediavine. So Grow by Mediavine. Mm-hmm. They're amazing. I think I paid $34 a year to use it. The cool thing is when you create a blog post, let's say you create a blog post, Matt, about 10 tips to start your own podcast. You create a feature image on your blog. Mm-hmm. And when people find your blog, if they find it interesting, they might share it on Pinterest. The downside is that when you have a standard WordPress, when they share that image, it doesn't put SEO keywords in there. So when a person is sharing it and they put in it on their board, it saves it like empty. It just has the alt image name and that's it.
Yeah.
But for you to be found, right, on Pinterest, you need to have a title, a listing description that's full of SEO. So one way to explode your traffic, right, especially because you're bringing traffic back to your store from Pinterest, from Pinterest back to your blog, one way to explode it that Etsy doesn't allow you to do it because obviously it's an e-commerce that belongs to someone else. But on your blog, if you have your own e-commerce store, what I recommend is downloading that plugin because in the plugin, every time you create an article, it's almost like the SEO Yoast for SEO. Like you go in and you type in your keywords and all that. It's like that. You type in, if this is shared on Facebook, this is what I wanted to say. If this pin or this feature image is shared on Twitter, I want to include this plus these hashtags, like 3 hashtags, let's say. If this is shared on Pinterest, here's the title. Here's the listing description full of keywords. And when people start sharing your content, it's already optimized for SEO for Pinterest. So what does that do? When they share it, more people find it. And then that's how you become viral. That's how you get viral pins and start driving tons. Because you don't want people to go to your website, share it, but it's not optimized right. Because, they'll share it and maybe somebody might see it and that follows them, but it won't reach that viral that you want. Yeah. So that plugin is amazing. But
and that's Growth by Mediavine.
Yes, Grow by Mediavine.
We shall have a look at that. And the links to that plugin and to Tailwind and all the other things that you've mentioned will somehow extract from this video, and we will put them in the show notes, of course. So thank you for doing that. Listen, Nancy, before you go, how do people connect with you? How do they reach you? And actually, tell us about, you've mentioned it a couple of times, and I'm aware that we have just scraped the top of the surface, right? I appreciate you can properly deep dive. So if this has got, this has piqued your interest, as it has mine, you've got a course, like a brand new course, which does a proper deep dive on Etsy and Pinterest and Facebook. And I mean, you deep dive onto everything. You focus on Etsy and then you talk about the marketing side of things as well. So how do people find out about that? How do people connect with you? Go.
So I have it's called the Arts Printable Etsy course, but it's more than an Arts Printable course. I essentially teach you how to start an Etsy store from scratch, how to find your niche, how to do niche marketing, how to write your niche statement, how to create products, how to promote your products, how to grow your email list, how to do SEO on Etsy, and much more. And that's 45 videos, it's 6 modules. In addition to that, you get a Facebook course that includes Facebook fan page, how to use that to capture leads on a regular basis, how to create a Facebook group. I've grown groups all the way to 100,000, so I have experience.
Wow.
My group right now has 40,000 members. How to create a really great fan page for your Etsy business in general. How to use Pinterest. That's a whole entire course itself. It's like 46 videos, I believe. How to use Instagram. That's another 22 videos. So it's a whole bunch of stuff. An introduction to Facebook and Instagram ads. If you want to learn how to do those as well, I included that in there. So basically, essentially what you're getting is a course that I teach you not only how to start a store, but how to scale it to the next level. Because wherever you sell, whether it's on Amazon or Etsy, you have to always keep in mind, yeah, they're great. They have a building traffic and that's great in the beginning. But over time, you'll get stagnant, especially because there's so many people now, especially now, creating Etsy stores, discovering that they can make money online.
Sure.
So it's getting very saturated. So in order for you to become an industry leader, become a brand, an authority in your niche, you got to learn how to market yourself outside of Etsy and use the Etsy traffic as pocket money, but then bring the big money from all these other different channels. And that's essentially what I teach you in the course. If you're interested in learning more information about me, what I do, everything is in my actual site. You just go to nancybadillo.com. And if you have any questions, you can actually shoot me an email from there as well. Anything that I mentioned here that maybe you had questions about, and I'll be more happy to answer them as well.
Awesome. So that's on your website, Nancy. I'm going to have to apologize because I've mispronounced your name at the start. I read it like a typical Englishman, and I said your name is Nancy Badillo, but it's not. It's Nancy Badillo. Did I pronounce that right?
I think it's because I'm Latina, so I'm saying Badillo. That's how you say it in Spanish, but you said it right. In English, I think it is Badillo. That's what everyone says.
Nancy Badillo. Right? No, it's Nancy Badillo. Okay, I need to work on my pronunciation and understanding of different languages. But that's Nancy Badillo. It's Badillo, and that's is that a .com website?
Yes, .com.
NancyBadillo.com. Okay, so head on over there, connect with what Nancy's doing, check out her course. I know you're going to get tremendous value from it. And of course, if you've got any questions, then do shoot Nancy an email. She will get in touch with you. No problem at all. Listen, Nancy, it's been brilliant having you on the show. No doubt we will have you on the show again just to, see how things are going in a few months' time, which will be great. But for now, thank you so, so much. So appreciate it. And I've really, really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.
It was my pleasure, Matt. Thank you for having me again. Bye, everyone.
Well, wasn't Nancy fantastic there? I hope you got a lot out of it. I am sure you did, because I definitely did. So a big thanks to my special guest, Nancy Badillo. Get the pronunciation right, Matt. Work on that. Such a great show. And you know what? My aim wherever I speak to a guest is just to find some real practical nuggets that I can use on my own e-commerce businesses. Well, I got that today. I really enjoyed figuring out what Nancy would do on my beauty business, on my podcast, on my e-commerce business, even for my son's university education. So what did you get out of it? Let me know. Shoot me an email because, we've all got some good stuff out of this. And if you did, I would totally appreciate it if you could rate this show on iTunes or wherever you get the podcast. Even share it out to folks that you think would find it interesting. We always love to connect with more people from around the world. As I said at the start, and as I said just a few minutes ago, all of the notes, the links and the transcript for today's show are going to be online, and you can access them for free at mattedmundson.com. So do check them out. All that's left for me to say is thanks for listening. Come back next time as we get to interview some more great guests just like Nancy. and figure out how to grow our own online business. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And wherever you are, stay safe, and we'll be back very, very soon. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the eCommerce Podcast with Matt Edmundson. Join us next time for more interviews, tips, and tools for building your business online.